Alright, so I've just posted inside of the AM Prep channel the levels that we can see for today, so you guys can zoom into that and get them marked out on your chart as well so you can see it more specifically. So take a look at that. 30-minute time frame, question mark, question mark. Brother, it's just for a screenshot so I can send it to the AM Prep to fit all of the levels in. But I marked out everything on the 15. Alright, let's see at the New York Open what we have for today. See what's on the menu. Yeah, we'll get on to bias in around 6 minutes time at 9:40, and then we will see what we get. So obviously we've got a set of London highs which ES is getting rather close to, so that would obviously form a bearish SMT on NQ, and we already have a bullish SMT on ES, so obviously ES is the stronger pair out of the two. Today we have no set of New York Open high or low. We have taken the New York Open high, but it's not really a level to look at today because it's already been kind of scribbled out of the chart. How's everyone's day been so far? Who's hit the gym today? Or is it quite early for you guys? Let's hear some achievements. You know, small achievements. Legs tonight, yeah? Very ill at the moment. No excuses, brother. Get in the gym. I'm joking. Obviously, if you're ill, you need to recover. Just make sure you're... you could do a small fast. You know, make sure you drink a lot of water. And get some sleep. Sleep's number one. My brother Patreon is in the gym as we speak. See, that's a whole different level. He's at a whole different level. He's trading whilst he's in the gym. He's on the bench press. And he's monitoring price. Chest and back tonight. That's jokes. Jams has been stuck in the matrix from 9 to 5. 3-hour meeting. It's all good, brother. You will be out of the matrix shortly. A couple funded accounts will replace your previous income. Gym and golf after this trading session. Sounds like a plan. That's very nice. I'm not really the best at golf. I've got some experience, but my handicap, or whatever you call it, on a golf course that I used to play on, it was sitting around 21 over par. So not really the best, but it's not bad, you know. 21 over par. It was a decent golf course. It's not like a pro golf course, but it was a decent 18 hole. I was playing with someone who usually sits 7 under par, so there's quite a difference between us. Alright, let's take a look at buyers for today. ICT Brandon's trying to sell a car. What, whilst you're in the macro? He's trying to offload a car at the moment. There's plenty of buyers, brother. You'll get it sold. Alright, so daily time frame as of now, we had a daily bullish gap, so the bias was bullish, but then it's now been inversed, so the daily is bearish. So the daily's bearish, okay? 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour bullish gap got inversed. Okay, so even from the inverse, it would cause price action to be bearish, but we are trading out of a 4-hour bearish gap. The draw is the next low or bullish gap, so the draw is previous day low on the 4-hour time frame. So that's 2 results as bearish. What car is ICT Brandon trying to sell? He's selling his Bugatti. He wants to get a Koenigsegg. So hourly time frame, as of now, you can see we was trading out of an hourly bullish fair value gap, and most recently trading out of an hourly bearish fair value gap. Okay, so the hourly is bearish. Right now we stand with a bearish bias. So the daily is bearish, the 4 hour. So with a bearish bias, we want to see a sweep of buy side, which ES is nearing close to London highs, which will give a bearish SMT on NQ. So 4 hour bearish. The 1 hour is paired with a bullish gap. Surely that makes it neutral. But we are trading with the hourly bearish gap above, which is not paired with a bullish gap. This one is. However, the upper portion of this gap is not paired with the bullish gap, and the upper bearish gap is not paired with anything. It's just a bearish gap. So 1 hour is bearish, 15 minute. Let's take a look. So the 15 minute is bearish. And the 5 minute is bearish. So we have 100% bearish bias as we currently stand. So we want to see London highs preferably swept on ES, which would be good to see. Either way, we've already swept buy side on NQ, so a model for shorts as of now would still be valid, but preferably I still want to see London highs get taken, as that will be a very nice SMT. So Forex Factory today lies with existing home sales as an orange folder at 10 AM. As I remember, existing home sales is usually a red folder. So I don't believe it would have much of an impact for price, but I've seen that in the past as red folder. And then Friday is the big day with, at start of macro at 9:45, the final cut of red folder news is hit the market. Now tomorrow is that we're going to have on the 1 minute time frame a set of data lows and data highs from 8:30, which is CPI, and then at 9:45 we're going to have another set of data highs, which will be interesting to see, and then we can trade it accordingly. Milo, we want to see you in a supercar now after the Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce is very cool, but to be honest, some hypercar. Well, you know, we'll see. I'm not really too fussed on that side of things as of now. I'm looking at growing the real estate portfolio and, you know, not wasting money on, you know, hypercars. So I'm focused on growing the real estate portfolio. I want to grow it to 20 apartments over in Dubai, and then once it's at that point, then I'll look at getting some sort of car from that point. But, you know, if I purchase the hypercar now, it would be slightly kind of setting me back, so the progress is delayed. A lot of people, they're going to purchase, you know, hypercars of what you see on social media of other traders to promote their own brand, but, you know, I don't really care. So I'm just here to make sure the quickest process possible to get in, or to the goals that I have set out, which is not by buying a hypercar and a bunch of Richard Milles, you know, because they don't actually give you a return on investment, you know. So as far as growing wealth, it's a dumb investment. I bought the Rolls Royce. It was comfortable to drive, and, you know, I like the car. The speakers are nice, it's comfortable, you own the road, it's a big car, it's safe, whatever. Safety, I don't really care, you know, that's why I'm on a bike. So the bikes are a lot more fun in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, as far as hypercars of what I would buy, not really that interested, to be honest. It actually doesn't really interest me. I'm more interested. The next car I will buy in more of the short term would be the Nissan GTR Nismo R35, and I'll run it with T1 Racing in the US to 2.5k horsepower. That's interesting. You know, I'll be the next purchase as far as cars. But I'm going to get quite a few more apartments before I even buy that car. Have you ever had a speed wobble? Let me think. No, I've actually not had a speed wobble like that. I was on the MT-09 about a year ago, and a speed wobble only occurs from when the handlebars slightly go out of straight line over a bumpy surface, so the front wheel comes off the ground and then it kind of goes down a little bit left or right. So ES is about to take London highs there. I've experienced it once, but it wasn't a crazy speed wobble, and I was only going about 100 kilometers an hour, so nothing crazy. And the handlebars just shook for about a second, and then they went back straight. So no, I've not had any sort of crazy speed wobble. As long as you're in control of the bike. See, that's lovely there. We've got a bearish bias, a sweep of buy side, which is London highs on ES, and a bearish SMT on NQ as it currently stands. So I'm looking for a shift in market structure going into this macro. So let's see what we get. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, as long as you're always in control of the bike, then you know you'll be just fine. So if you do a wheelie, for example, don't put the wheel down if it's not straight. You know, little things like that. Things that can send you into a speed wobble, even when the wheel's on the ground completely, is the cat eyes in the middle of the road, or even little potholes. You know. What's the max speed? I hit 310 kilometers an hour in Dubai. I don't know which road it was. It's one of the main motorways, 5 lanes. Hit 310 on an R1M. That was kilometers an hour. Taken some corners around 250, 260, but that was all done in Dubai. I wouldn't do that in Thailand. You know. But it's different, you know. I've been 200 mile an hour plus in a car, and it doesn't feel the same as when you're on a bike. You know, the fastest I've been in a car was C63, the old one, the 2012 old C63 with the V8 engine. I hit 201 miles an hour in that car in the UK, and you know, that speed there doesn't feel the same as what is on a bike. Yeah, I didn't have a plate when I was in Dubai on the bike, you know, there was no plate. So how old was I when I started riding bikes? Well, the first time I came to Thailand, I got onto a moped. So what's that, 2024 March? It's been like a year and a half. Yeah. But some people would choose to ride their bike once a week, but the experience that I've got over the past year and a half is that I've been riding bikes for 4 or 5 hours a day every single day of the week. So you gain a lot more experience than someone who's been riding for 5 years but once a week. So yeah, I started on the moped, and if anyone chooses to ride a bike, doesn't matter where you are in the world, always start with a moped. I know it sounds dumb, but actually always start with a moped. Understand the traffic for at least like 1 or 2 months, and then go from a moped and get straight onto a 500cc. So like a 450 or 600's a bit much, but I would get on like a 400 after the moped. Learn how to change gears, learn engine braking and how to manage the bike, and then from that point you can go to, you know, a 650, and I'll just stay on a 650 for about a year, and then you can get a litre. So really get comfortable on the 600s, because they're still fast, they're still fun, you can still do wheelies on 600s. You have to do clutch ups, but you know, but 600 for most people is enough. It will feel fast enough. And a lot of 600s are faster than litre bikes round a track. It depends what track it is, because the 600s are so light, you can go way faster around the corners. but obviously on the straights they don't stand a chance. Shorts and t-shirt on my bike. I don't actually wear shorts. Sometimes I do, but I always wear jeans, and I know jeans don't really last a second when you come off a bike. But I choose to wear, Mary jeans, a black tee, and a helmet, and I wear padded gloves as well. But as far as a top, I've also got an actual race kind of jacket. But I don't usually wear that because it's quite hot in Thailand. I've got a race jacket with elbows, shoulders, back, and chest pads. I don't ever wear that though, it's too hot. So I just ride safer when I'm in Thailand. But when I was in Dubai, I was wearing the full top. So as of now, bearish bias still stands, obviously on the higher time frame. 5 and 15 is likely changed. What we're looking for as of now is an inverse of an order block and a shift in market structure. So we're currently inside of macro, like to see a shift lower in market structure. But yeah, pretty much every bike's not going to go over 300 kilometers an hour because of the ECU or whatever, the little computer chip that they have in there. So as long as you take that to the right shop, they'll remove it, and they'll remove the limiter, and then you can choose to even map it and get a little bit more out of it. Yeah, instead of the Rolls Royce, I was gonna buy the Dodge Challenger Demon. The only reason I didn't buy it is because it was too slow for what it is, and I was like, if I'm getting a Demon, then it has to go at least 200 miles an hour, and the Demon's top speed, which you probably wouldn't believe, because it's the fastest production car ever built, right? Comes with drag tires, and the top speed's only like 150 miles an hour. Or like 150, I think it's 150, yeah. So that's why I didn't buy it. I was like, 1,200 brake horsepower, whatever it's got, stock. But top speed is 150, and it's because of the drag tires can't actually go past that speed, So it's just good for like quick accelerations and whatnot. And I thought, I was like, if I'm driving that car in the US, I don't want to be visioned as a drug dealer, because that's what they get, right? They get the Demon. So I was like, let me go for something which is more presentable, where I could pull up and it's like the V12 and the Rolls Royce. I mean, the Rolls Royce weighs over like 7,000 pounds or whatever, so the V12 doesn't really feel like a V12, Still fast, It gets to 150 pretty fast. Because it's so comfortable, it doesn't feel like you're really going anywhere. One sec, I'm just going to grab a quick coconut water before we get a shift lower in market structure. So obviously ES has put in that short-term low there, and NQ's put in that low as well. So we want to see a shift lower in market structure, inverting that bullish order block for NQ there. So that's what we're looking at as of now. And I know this week is actually a very good example to you guys that are newer to trading ICT, or just newer to trading in general, is that every week doesn't mean that we should take a trade every single week, and sometimes it does come based off probability that I don't actually take a trade during the week. So there will be weeks when it's kind of fast-paced action where we're taking a trade every day, and there'll be times like this when there isn't a trade to take. I'm not going to say that we're not going to take a trade today. If there is something that's valid, then we'd look to take it. But it's all about opportunity, and if there's no opportunity there, then we're not taking it. Like yesterday, the opportunity presented itself twice, but it wasn't given to us as far as an entry. Milo, do you have no sense of... I can't... Continuing... I don't know, what is that word? If you said it, then I would know. What? Continuity. That's a new one. I actually failed English in school, you know. English is not really one of my strongest parts, especially reading as well. So I always listen to podcasts rather than reading. I don't really understand that question. Well, at least you got a 5 in English, you know. I actually got a 3, and I failed it 4 times. So school was never my best. I was very good at maths. I did A-level maths, and I was projected to get A's, and then I got kicked out of sixth form. I just left completely because I realised halfway through it was not something that I wanted to continue and go to uni. So I left. You know, that's how it went for me inside of school. And the people inside of sixth form, you know, or university, wherever they're at, you know, they're still broke. They still see their stories. They're still in the same boring town, drinking a cocktail that cost them half of their daily wage. You know, no shame on them, but obviously, you know, there is people in life who have bigger ambitions than spending half of their daily wage on a cocktail, living in a town that you don't want to live in. You know, why settle for that? Why blind yourself from reality? Sit there learning something that you don't even need to know. Cool, maths helped me. In what way? In what way? Understanding probabilities, potentially, you know, potentially made me help understand probabilities. But, I mean, the biggest lesson that I've learned from an early age was doing a very difficult sport from an early age, you know. From when I was about 7 years old, I was swimming 5-6 days a week in the morning, evening. So that created, like, discipline, which continued on even after I quit when I was around 13, 14 years old. It still kept me on. Wait, did someone ask a gay question? Someone put gay question. Let me see this. Oh, is it a gay question? Oh, no, I won't answer that. No. Alright, so price is obviously accumulating above buy side, exactly what we like to see. So in the second half of the macro, we might see some sort of shift lower in market structure. I'm going to put this question into ChatGPT. One sec. Milo, don't you have a sense of... Let me see this one. Let's have a look. ChatGPT, help me out. See, I would have to join a mentorship for English. But when it comes to futures, ChatGPT needs to learn from me. What does this mean? Continuity. Alright. Means keeping things connected, consistent, flowing logically over time. Oh yes, that's exactly what we do. Exactly. They're basically saying you're jumping around too much, you're not keeping things consistent, story, plan, or message, you're breaking the flow and not thinking long term. Right. Is it because I'm answering too many questions inside of the Discord on the chat? Potentially I do have a case of ADHD, you know. I'm pretty sure I do. So if I jump from topic to topic quite a lot, I'm trying to answer you guys' questions and make sure everyone's on the same wavelength and everyone understands everything. And my mind does jump, so apologies. But when it comes to monitoring price and having a structured plan and ensuring that when we're monitoring price, everything is based off the checklist and the model that we trade, yes, we do go based fully off logic and whether it's a valid trade or not. Okay. So he's saying, do you have a plan for when price stays going in the same direction? Well, essentially, we always start with our bias, and then as of now, the second point is a sweep of liquidity, and then from that, we go to a shift in market structure, and we monitor both NQ and ES. As of now, there is no SMT, apart from no SMT as of now, but we look for differences between NQ and ES, and then as far as the model, a shift on both, a gap on both, a break or a mitigation paired with the gap, following our bias, and we are looking for the model. Yeah, I'm sure he had a very good question there. I just didn't really understand the word, so I had to research. But yes, as price continues to draw higher, there is essentially no trade that we can take. We can take continuation trades. For example, if price is in a premium, we can take a continuation for more of a premium to say London highs, but this lies under the same example of what we need to see based off the model, where if we are sat around this area but have a draw for London highs, so for example, if I'm sitting around this area here for price, let's say our bias is currently bullish, which as of this point it was bearish, but in hindsight, or in a different scenario, let's say bias was bullish, we accumulate, we still need to see a sweep of minor sell side for a continuation model. We can't just see price shift market structure be paired with a mitigation and breaker on NQ and ES and then take a long towards London. That's not how a continuation works. Continuation still stands for the same requirements as a normal trade that we look to take. Now, continuation is lower probability than a normal trade that we'd look to take, where we have a premium for price, a sweep of liquidity following bias, and then the following other requirements afterwards. A continuation model is obviously lower probability because price has already seeked more of a premium, but you're still looking for more of a premium as it follows your bias, if that makes sense. So yes, we can take continuation trades, and that's how we deal with price obviously continuing higher and then seeing an accumulation period. We want price to then manipulate out of accumulation below a previous low, and this low wouldn't really be a substantial low, but this one would be more of a low to get swept. So we continue higher, we take out this low, for example, and then see a shift in market structure, and then you can target London. That's how a continuation model works for those that understand what I just said. As far as the model that we trade, we do trade continuation, and we also trade this model. And if the continuation presents itself, which more times than not it doesn't, because bias, when price comes to a premium, bias tends to shift towards bearish based off imbalances. But if the bias is still bullish and we are at this period, and then we see price accumulate, then we see it manipulate, then cool. And if we still have a draw for a higher premium for price of buy side, then we can definitely look to take a trade. After a move such as this, right, where price runs to a premium and takes buy side, we do like to see this period of accumulation that we've seen here. Okay, now obviously we are looking for a shift in market structure. So hopefully that answered your question. Amazing explanation. Sorry for my English. No, sorry for my English. I should have understood that word, but I didn't. So your English is better than mine. Where is the order block that we are looking to be inversed? As of now, there isn't any order block apart from the one resting lower on ES. So I'd like to see NQ put in some sort of order block to be paired with a gap. Have we not already had the market structure shift? Nope. So the market structure shift must consist of a shift below a previous short-term low in market structure, leaving behind a bearish gap on both NQ and ES. So it all must happen as one. You said your best month this year was in August. How many trades did you take? During that month, I must have taken around 10 to 15 trades. I think there was a week where I took around 4 or 5 trades during a week, so it was more of a busy month. September I had off. I was seeing family in the UK and I didn't have my trading set up out, so there was many weeks during September that I didn't trade. And I just started trading as of October the 5th, I believe, and I took a win straight off the bat, which was a 2-to-1. So I'm currently up 5.2 hour on this month. This week's been one of the slowest as far as activity with taking trades. So you can see there's no valid shift in market structure here. There's no fair value gap left on NQ. So what I can see price here is seeking more or less just a lower time frame discount to then reach back towards liquidity because it's a failed displacement. So when you get a non-energetic kind of move like this where price does not shift aggressively, then usually it seeks liquidity again to generate that aggressive move. Just mark that out, minor buy side, and we monitor this high on both. So either gets taken on one or the other, or both. That'll obviously be an SMT. What's the average percentage win? Well, I have it down to a T over the last 3 years. I've got a 58% win rate based off trading a 2-to-1 risk reward. Now, if you look at someone say, look at me, I've got a 78% win rate, but based off what risk reward and what data have you got that based off as well? As you backtested their model over a week and said you've got a 78% win rate, or have you got it over 3 years of live trading data? So a 78% win rate means nothing unless you know their risk reward and whether they take partials or close out fully. So it's very important you know that and not get clickbaited into a YouTube video which claims a win rate of what it's not. So a 58% win rate on a 2-to-1 risk reward is extremely good, and you won't really find it in many places on social media. And feel free to, backtest this model. I advise you guys to hop on TradeZella in your free time. Everyone's got a spare hour of the day, and backtest just 1 hour of the day and start from, say July of this year and work your way up to where we are now. You don't have to do the whole year. You don't have to be a psycho, right? You can, and I have been psycho in the past to backtest, say 12-hour backtesting sessions, but it's not necessary. And you just need to understand and see the model in front of your eyes, and as long as you do say an hour a day and you're becoming more familiar with seeing the model, then when you do see it in live price action, you don't feel rushed in taking it. Alright, so this is interesting. So what we're seeing as of now for price action is it's seeking more of a discount without actually giving us opportunity. So that's all it is. Seeking more of a discount. It's taking out some points of minor sell side. So we'd now like to see price draw up to minor buy side, create some sort of accumulation period for the second day of macro, and then see if we can look to take a position. Someone's saying in the chat about Yes, they do, and no, they don't. What are you talking about exactly? Yes, they do, no, they don't. Are you talking about order blocks becoming breakers and mitigations and being paired with a gap? It's very essential, yeah. It's very essential, yeah. Yeah, it's exactly what we look for. It's one of the major points on the checklist. Matter of fact, let me just go over to Canva now, and I'm going to paste the checklist inside of the checklist channel. I got caught up in a call last night over in Dubai, just sorting a few things out, and I wasn't able to complete the little 2 sections that we added inside of the Discord at the top, so prop firms and checklist guide. So yeah, obviously this, what you can see here on the current chart as of now, guys, obviously it's not an actual valid trade, so price is seeked on ES and taken out this low with a bullish SMT on NQ, so we've seeked a point of minor sell side. There is no breaker or mitigation block paired with any of these gaps, so I'm looking for price to draw back to minor buy side, reach for liquidity, and then in the second day of macro we can look for an opportunity as of that point. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Right, I'm going to put these inside of the Discord channel for you guys now. It'll be in there in 30 seconds. Actually, I just need to change one thing on here just so people don't get confused. Just delete this. You can't have both of these confluences missing from the trade, otherwise don't take it. That's obviously correct. Delete that. Okay, right, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so the checklist guide, I'm dropping that in there now. You guys can take a look at this straight away. Okay. So daily bias is in the chat, so you guys can see that with marking out the levels. And then the next checklist is inside the chat as well. So the full checklist to taking a trade, whether it's B plus or A plus, is now there. From 1 to 8 of all the points, that's exactly what I look for. So you guys can then base that and have a complete understanding from that as well. So that's exactly the entry checklist that I use, the macros that I trade, also from number 1 where we look for our bias to then be paired with a sweep of liquidity, a fair value gap on both NQ and ES, a breaker block or a mitigation block paired with a fair value gap on either NQ or ES, does not have to be on both. Not going against the 5 and 15. Now let me explain this checklist to you guys. There's 2 points on this checklist which are in orange, and you can only either miss one or the other. Now when it comes to shift in market structure on both NQ and ES, that one needs to be made as essential, so we must see a shift on both, as that number 6 needs to be made green as essential. Now not going against the 5 and 15, this one is essentially just a point that more or less, more times than not, just gets missed, and it's because that, for example, if I'm taking a long position and we're trading inside of a 5 or a 15 minute bearish gap, causing the 5 or 15 to be bearish, but I'm taking longs, I can still take that trade with full position size. However, it would be B plus. If we're not trading inside a 5 or 15 bearish gap in a long position, then it is a plus trade. That's the third difference between A plus and B plus. So hopefully that makes sense. But you guys have that to take a look at and get familiar. Okay, so we're outside a macro now, and we're gonna wait for the 10:45 a.m. Okay. 11:15. So inside of this macro, I want to see price seek some sort of discount, but preferably I want to see it accumulate and manipulate above minor buy side to be taken out, and then we can look for a potential short opportunity in the second AM following a bearish bias. Based on the price action, would you rather in office Biden or Trump? I think Trump's been, absolutely amazing since he's come in office. He's made some great decisions. He's called price action and the overall Nasdaq to skyrocket, even though briefly when he came in office it dumped to 16k on the futures market. I think he's done a great job, great decisions. I'm all for it. He's very much just a realistic person rather than just being, beaten around the bush and kind of just saying America's full of hope, but it was really full of shit when Biden was in office. And also, if that Camila or that female was to come in the office, I think that would have been a very bad way of things. I don't think she's great for business. She's great for pleasing the public and pleasing them over talk. But as far as getting stuff done, doing the hard work that needs to be done as a president, I don't think she's got that in her. So yeah, I think Trump's been great, and obviously there can be things sometimes that are said by Trump which causes the market to absolutely tank or pump. But he, at the end of the day, has to do a job, and at least he's doing the job correctly, and that's how it should be done. And obviously when price action's more volatile, it does cause more opportunities presented to us as a trader. So I'll speak to you guys for the second day of macro. I'll mute my mic at 10:35. Alright, yes guys. Hope everyone's doing well. We've got a nice clean model presenting itself, as we can see here. So we will be looking to take this going into the second day of macro. I was just finishing off a extra chicken and 3 eggs Caesar salad whilst monitoring price, so I didn't want to obviously eat on the mic and disturb you guys' ears. So as you can see here, we've currently got a sweep of buy side, a bearish SMT on ES following a bearish bias, which I've just determined, a shift in market structure on NQ, and also a shift in market structure on ES with a inverse order block paired with a gap. Now if this gap okay, right, so the trade's over. Okay, so ES just closed up that gap, so this trade's been invalidated, so there's no trade. But if we do see in the short near term a trade similar to this, then yes, we would look to take it. But ES just closed up the gap, so now there is no trade. But if we do see obviously a further shift in market structure, say this turned into a bullish order block, and then we displace and inverse that, then great. So we either get trade or we don't. Someone said there's an upper gap on ES. Well, there isn't. That's not a fair value gap. Can anyone hear me? Well, I would hope so. I would hope so. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Should be just fine, right? Yeah, I don't know why Discord does that either, to be honest. That's just Discord, you know? Gonna have to send them a live support message. I don't even think they got live support. I couldn't even get My stream converted from a normal stream the other day to a stage. But yeah, so obviously this would have been a trade that we would have looked to taken. Bearish SMT on ES, bearish buy, sweep a buy side, shift on both. However, the checklist, obviously if you look at the checklist section on this Discord, a fair value gap must be presented on NQ and ES, and unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, regardless on what we see for price now, we see no gap on ES, so there's no trade for us to take. Can you guys hear background noise when I'm speaking through the mic? Or is the background noise, is it good? Let me know what it's saying, because if we can improve the mic, then I'll order another one. Oh, you can hear like... No, I think you can. I generally think you can hear some crickets in the background, actually. I don't think you're wrong about that. I did listen to my own stream. Must have come up like yesterday or something. And I was listening to it on YouTube. I thought I could hear some crickets in the background. But I think that's because there was one in my room the other day. It managed to get in off the balcony and I killed it. I killed it after the stream. I found it. So I got him gone. Yeah, the cricket was trying to catch some information. He's trying to pass his top step probably. Okay, so we've just taken out that short-term high. Not much as of now. So yeah, I mean, when I tell you guys about models that present in price and then I'll tell you that it's not valid, you know, more times than not, and I'm not saying that a certain trade that is missing a gap on ES is not to play out, and then it, you know, sometimes the probability is less for you as a trader and is unprofitable, but there is still that possibility and probability that it will play out as an unprofitable trade. Or I mean, a non-valid trades do play out and you will see them play out, but more times than not is against you as a trader and puts you as unprofitable to taking it. So probability lies against you, but obviously the probability also lies there as well for it to play out. And you can see here, with that rule of a gap on both, the fact we didn't have a gap on ES caused this to get back to the highs. And take the high again. Is take profit trader consistent with payouts like Top Step? Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're very good prop firm. Take profit's good. What do you guys think about take profit as well? I'd ask those of you that been paid out with them as well. You know, I've had great progress with take profit so far. I think they're good prop firm. What do you guys think? Dom, do you use take profit? I'm pretty sure you've got take profit. I know you do. I don't actually think Dom's in the stream today. He's probably trading by himself, or he might be a little bit busy. What do you mean Dom's out trading against bias? Nah. What do you mean Dom's catching longs? Did he text you personally? Because, I mean, I've been teaching Dom for the past year and a half, and I've got him to 3.6 million in capital. He's been watching my streams, and then I've been helping him back and forth, and he's done absolutely amazing. You know, it's great to see. So I don't think he would take a trade against bias unless it was something that he felt comfortable in taking. I don't think he would. But yeah, he's done over 200. Well, he's done over 250,000 now in payouts, or he's getting pretty close. But he's got over 300 and not 300, 3.6 million in capital. So yeah, he's done well. How old is he? I don't actually know, to be honest. But it's not just Dom. There's many people. So. So for market structure shift, first thing we see is the market structure shift. After that, we should see a fair value gap on both. Then we find a breaker block paired with the mitigation. Yeah, so that's true to be paired with the gap. Now what I do myself is that I identify and look, before the shift even happens, I'm looking to see where are the order blocks for price. And I'm seeing what order blocks can we inverse. And right now, visually looking at price, there is no shift on NQ or ES, and there's also no order blocks which could be inversed, right? So it's not possible right now to inverse an order block to be paired with a gap. So I like to anticipate by looking at the order blocks to see which can be inversed, and then when we are shifting market structure, I'm then looking to see if there's a gap on both. And I already know from looking at the order block before whether that order block is going to be paired with the gap or not. That's being created. So I've already preempt my thought process whether we're going to get a break or a mitigation paired with a gap. Can you mark the order block as we go through the stream? Well, I'm not going to mark every order block on the chart, but when it comes to taking a trade, then I do mark the order block if I know that's the one I'm paying attention to. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, 100%. So as we, see something that is forming in front of us, then yeah, I always mark out the order block. And if it's already flipped to being a mitigation or a breaker, then I'll just label it as what it is. How much currently do you have funding with prop firms? So I've got 150k live account with TopStep. I've got 550k accounts with Take Profit. I've got 550k accounts with My Funded Futures. I've got 350k accounts with Alpha Futures. I've got 2050k accounts under my mum's name on Apex, as previously my name is no longer able to be tradable on Apex, so banned. On FTMO, I've got a 400k account that I trade on US 100. And then on my personal live account, it's sitting just over 670k. So that's the accounts that I trade. And now there is other prop firms I could look to trade with as well. But as of now, I'm not really that interested. And I'm just looking to continue to build my live account. Now, I also have a large crypto portfolio, which is currently non-active. And 15% of it is in a crypto position right now, which is the Bitcoin short that I post inside this Discord. So I'm in a Bitcoin short for only 15% of the portfolio. Now my crypto portfolio is actually bigger than my live account, but my main source of income is relatively 50-50 both ways for futures and crypto. It depends on the year. I've had couple years where I've made more of crypto, and I've had periods where I've made way more from futures, like August, so it really depends. But obviously the Bitcoin short's not going to make relatively nothing, 80 or 90k over the space of 6 months. But the Bitcoin long that I take, say, mid of next year or even going towards the end of next year, that's going to be a very interesting and position that will run my live crypto account from around the 800 to a million mark, and it's going to run at 3.5 million. So it should be a 300% gain or more on that, so it's going to be potentially even bigger. And then yeah, going back to the question from the first day of macro, yeah, so no shift in market structure on both NQ and ES as of now. But yeah, going back to that question, first day of macro about the hypercar, then yeah, in around 2-3 years, that's when I'll probably look at getting a hypercar. So now the 1044 candle is an order block. No, it's not. Even if you're looking at MNQ, we look at NQ and it's an up close candle, so it's not an order block, no. And regardless, there is no shift in market structure below a previous swing low, so it wouldn't be a valid trade anyway. So no shift. And regardless whether that's an order block on MNQ, because on NQ, in the actual full contract of what you should be trading, it's an up close candle. Which hypercar would it be? Well, as much as it doesn't interest me, it would most likely be the older Koenigsegg. But I would purchase the Villa on the Palm. That would cost about 10-15 mil first before I get the hypercar, and then if it comes to a point that I purchase it, then it would be that. As much as the Koenigsegg looks nice, I'd much rather own, say, for the same price, say 3 or 4 normal cars. Well, not normal cars, but like an 812 Superfast, which you can get for about, 400k. I'd much rather have an 812. I think they sound way better. Even though the Koenigsegg's one of the loudest cars you can buy, I still much rather like the sound of the... Actually, to be fair, the one hypercar that I have seen that I absolutely do love, and I will buy, actually 100%, is the Ferrari SP3. I think no one really knows that car, and no one's really seen it. But if you research it, it's got, I believe, a V12, and it's one of the best sounding cars that I've ever heard in my life. And I think it's very futuristic, and it looks pretty mad. Everyone talks STOs, Lambos this, Lambos that, and Ferraris 812s, but no one's actually seen. Have you seen the Ferrari SP3? Yeah, the Daytona SP3. Have you seen that? I believe they're selling it for about 2.5, but that car is unbelievable. I would definitely buy that. Now, a lot of people are not going to like it, but type in on YouTube Ferrari SP3 Daytona and watch the video of the guy ripping it down the street. Straight piped it. Mad. So obviously price is now seeking the high. Now I want to see a shift. That's a bullish order block put in for price. I want to see price shift below this low. SVJ could be a good investment. I mean, if you're buying a car, you shouldn't really think about investments, because like the way I drive cars, bikes, whatever, it's like instant devalue. For the same price as an SVJ, say you put 750 down for an SVJ, you could acquire 7 apartments that are paying you 2k a month. and then you can pay for an SVJ monthly of 7k a month and still have 7k to the side profit. So if you really want that SVJ, might as well get it for free, right? There's no point actually working or, you know, trading to pay for an SVJ. Put a whole SVJ into real estate and make that pay for your SVJ, so it's free. Yeah, absolutely. I think the SVJ is one of the cars that has shot up a lot in value. What other cars have? The old Ferrari Enzo, that shot up massively, but it looks like an absolute dog now. I remember at the time when it got released, it looked pretty mad. How's Dubai real estate? Relatively less scams as compared to other country. Well, I've explained Dubai's real estate inside of the real estate section, so you read through that, take a look, and if you're ready to purchase, then contact the agent and he'll sort you out with a place that's already been built or a place that's off plan. For those of you that are newer, still building accounts, obviously getting funded on an eval, see, this would be a great shift in market structure below this low. And for those of you that are newer, building accounts up, obviously after a couple payouts, you reinvest that back into getting more accounts and go max allocation. And then after around 2 months after that, you would then be in a point where you can start moving payouts into either your live account and also looking at getting into real estate as well. So I don't want you guys who are newer to look at this chat and think everyone's talking about Lambos and real estate, which they are, and they are going more materialistic, like Kobe said. And the overall goal here is to actually grow money. Now, we're not looking to make money to then diminish it, right? We're here to take the money that we make as a payout, okay, reinvest that. If you don't already have max allocation, then you are still growing your allocation until you are max, okay? And then once you're at the point where you are working with multiple prop firms and you're taking at least 15, 20k per trade, then all of those other things, they come later. And especially when you're newer to getting paid out, making money, you're going to be very tempted to go do, you know, stupid shit, go on, you know, have a few nice dinners and whatever, enjoy it, but don't start moving recklessly and looking to invest 90% of your payout into a Lambo as a deposit and then be stuck with some sort of, like, you know, payments or whatever they do, you know. So, you know, always look at setting yourself up first, because that's what I done. So I went into real estate first and then do all of the other things after when it kind of pays for it. So don't rush it. You know, majority of people are, you know, if you're not planning on dying in the next 5 years, then you've got a lot of time on your hands to get things right before you start doing other things, you know. So just take it slow. Now, there's obviously other investments that you can get into, and from the knowledge that I've learned myself, is that crypto, real estate, and trading futures is relatively all that I've researched and all that I know. Now, I know there's other avenues that you can go down in buying whiskey bottles, paintings, and watches, but I don't personally see that as something that I'm even interested in at all. As far as watches, I have a few watches that I have over in a unit in Dubai that is looked after, but I don't actually, you know, invest in watches for them to go up in value. I've bought watches over the time, and there is many people who buy watches, they make money from them in going up in value, etc. Also whiskey and paintings and stuff like that, but it doesn't interest me at all. Like, for example, if I put it in this perspective, when you're taking 100k in payouts per month, and some months are going to lead to being break even or relatively smaller, where you're doing, say, 20k that month, okay, what you're then from that point, you can be taking, say, 70k of that payout, and 30k of that you can then choose to do what you like. Now, if you see that over a 6-month period where you've done consistently on average about 100k per month, or even if it's 50, right, 100's is an easier ballpark to kind of do the maths off, but let's say you're 30% of it, you then can apply it to whatever you like. It goes towards your lifestyle, the place that you're staying in, and also your car. So yeah, at that point you can choose then, if you want a Lambo, you can get one. 70% of the payouts, or 60%, right, goes towards your live account. It's essential. It goes straight towards your live account or your crypto portfolio, one or the other. And that's how I've built up my portfolios over the past 3 years. And at the start, when I was getting paid out, I was spending pretty much all of the income. But at the start, I was doing on average about 20 to 30k per month on the payouts, and I was spending pretty much 20 to 30k per month. And then I realized that I need to make some sort of change in order to actually grow my capital and not be stuck at the capital that I had when I first started. And I wasn't seeing no actual growth. And then when I sat back and said, look, I can't be doing none of this, let's put 60% of the payout. So when I received my next payout, I took 60% and I put it back into applying for different prop firms, and also put it into my live account. And then the other 40 or 30% you can choose, that goes into just lifestyle. And if you have money left over after, then cool, put that in the live account as well, and then let the payouts flow in. Before you know it, you're going to have a nice live account, a nice crypto portfolio. You're going to have then money invested in real estate, which is giving you an income per month. If you choose to buy a watch, then it's a great way to park money off so you don't have it in the bank. That's how I see it, because you don't want to leave too much in the bank, especially if you're not with a good bank. Now, the best banks is, say, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. You also got Chase. They're like the top 3 banks. But anything else, I would be careful with leaving over 50k USD in any one of those banks, because they start asking for information and all this shit. So just leave it in a Trezor wallet or put it into watches. And you can always take watches to many dealers and they're gonna swap it over for crypto. So right now price is accumulating, and now we want it to manipulate above the high, but we are getting rather close to the end of this macro. So we took out that short-term high there. We have already swept buy side, but no valid trades as of now. Surely none of you guys were actually considering on taking a short here or here, right? Surely not. But that's what I'm here for. I'm just, guiding you guys through. Do you still take partials like you used to before? No. So we take it at a 2-to-1, and we target the first 1 minute low or high in a long or short position to target as close to a 2-to-1 as possible. And we close out fully at 2-to-1, and we trail stops accordingly in the trade. Do you take your payouts in crypto? Well, many prop firms pay me out via bank transfer, but FTMO can pay out via crypto. When are you looking to long Bitcoin? Well, I'm going to put that inside of the group for you guys when I take that position. Okay, so we're starting to see potential shift in market structure here on ES, inversing this bullish order block. Potential shift on NQ as well, after we've taken out this short-term high, and we've already swept buy side. So as long as we don't take out that first low, then this trade will be valid. Okay, so NQ slightly shifted market structure, ES has shifted market structure, inverse the order block as well. And then let's see whether we get a gap on NQ and ES. And with the next candle at 11:14, that would be the last minute of entry. So let's see whether we get a gap on both. Just going to remove London highs to make the chart a little bit cleaner. Alright, so our point of entry is going to be this fair value gap if it holds. Our stop loss is going to be at 20 points, and we're going to target this 1 minute low. Okay, so it's starting to still open, still an open gap. So we got a 1 minute point of entry here with a 18 handle stop. So I use 22 contracts. See whether we get an entry in this 1 minute. Yeah, stop loss is at 25,193, and we're looking for an entry off this gap in the next 1 minute. We've got 25 seconds. So essentially, if this candle closes, then we don't actually get an entry inside macro. Yeah, it's just ticked outside macro there, so no trade. So we're going to wait for the lunch macro at 11:45. And 12:15. Okay, so let's remove this. Just going to mark that point of buy side out on ES as well. Someone said NQ is edging us this week. Yeah, a couple times. I mean, it was close to getting an entry there, but it's nothing to really, pay attention to be honest. We either get an entry or we don't. And yesterday we seen where NQ gave us 2 times where we almost got an entry. And then with this time round, there was a couple ticks off getting an entry there. So I was very close to taking that entry, but obviously we ticked outside of macro on the 11:15.
How you doing? Hey, Googan, hey,
Wait, can you hear me? Why is someone else speaking?
okay. It looks like it's not being cleaned. I got coffee stains on the floor. I got crumbs all over the place. Underneath the bench seating, there's food.
Yeah, why is Buddy talking about like coffee stains on the floor? You got what the fuck happened there? Buddy's talking about coffee stains on the floor. I think that guy needs to get paid out or something. Like, that's mad. Just like connected out of nowhere. How's that possible? Let me check. Alright, guys, I don't know what happened there. I'll speak to you for the lunch macro at 11:35. I'll mute my mic. Alright, yes guys. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So, as we can see in the lunch macro, we have a lovely aggressive move lower, but failed to shift the market structure on NQ and ES. We have an order block here, which has been inversed on ES, which is good to see, and it's paired with a gap, but we're just not seeing a shift as of yet. So that's fine. Alright. I get a lot of people from my hometown, you know, asking me what things to buy and sell and whatnot, and to make money, etc. You know, and I had one funny one the other day where they asked me, "Is gold a good buy right now?" and also silver, and I put laughing emojis back to that one, because gold at the time, which was only about Sunday last week, was at all-time highs and 9-week highs. Like, how stupid can you be to purchase something which is so overinflated and so much in a premium at a 9-week high and back to back? So, you know, since then, obviously, I advise them not to. I don't trade gold or silver, but it's very obvious from looking at price that it's obviously not you're not getting a good deal. So if we shift market structure lower here, below this previous short-term low, I'll be interested in looking for shorts. And I know with some of you guys watching the stream, this might seem quite tedious, that we haven't taken a trade in, say, almost, what is it now, 2-3 days. But this is generally exactly the process that we go through to taking a position, and sometimes it is like this. And I want you guys to develop patience over time, understanding that the model doesn't always present every single macro, okay? And when it is presented, obviously we're here to capitalize off it. So obviously we still have that higher time frame or medium time frame bearish SMT on ES from minor buy side. We swept buy side before the lunch macro, and since then we've seen an aggressive move lower but failed to shift, and now we're looking for a shift below a previous short-term low to be paired with this order block. I think some of you guys asked for my chart settings, so here you go. That's my chart settings there, if you want to screenshot that. And then that's my candlestick chart settings so that's the canvas, the background. We're starting to shift market structure here on NQ and ES. We're going to have this, yeah, so obviously let's remove that for now, but you guys got that. It's going to be a bearish breaker, a shift on NQ, we've just taken out that point of sell side. Yeah, so because we took out minor sell side, this trade's not valid. We've already met one of the first objectives for the trade. We're obviously not even inside of macro yet, still got another 15 seconds until we get inside. There's still loads of sell side below, no, doesn't matter, question mark. So if you look at the checklist, we still have a sweep of sell side with a bearish bias, so it's not valid. We had a sweep of buy side and price didn't take out any levels. If this price actually shifted then it would be something that I'll be interested in. But it didn't actually shift market structure, right? So then we waited for the shift, price shift on the second part, and then with that shift, it took out sell side, meeting the objective. What about minus sell side at 10.18? You talking about this low here? This is obviously, if we was to take a short around this area, we would then look to target minus sell side at that area. But because we've taken out this point of minus sell side, it means that we're not going to take this trade. 1 + 1 is 2. If we take sell side, we don't take shorts. Yeah, I know to many of you guys, you get frustrated about, you know, taking trades and not taking trades, but you know, you'll learn it as you move forward. I was very similar to that in the starting stages of trading ICT. Everything or any shift in market structure that I seen, I was all over it. And then you develop over time, and as you see the model play out, you realize, this type of, you know, model doesn't actually end up playing in my favor because of this, this, and this, and then you start implementing rules. So the 5-minute bias as of now is bullish. The 15-minute bias traded out of a bearish gap, essentially being bearish. The 1-hour bias as of now is neutral until we meet the bullish gap below at minus sell side, and the 4-hour bias is bearish and the daily bias is bearish. So we can change the 5-minute here to being bullish. So our bias currently stands as bearish. Sorry, missed the start. Would this not be an entry here? No, because we have taken the point of sell side. Yeah, it's all good about missing the start of the stream. It's all good, don't worry. But yeah, quick explanation if you missed it. As of now, we've seen a shift in market structure on both NQ and ES, a gap on both, a sweep of buy side, a bearish bias. But what we've seen here is price shifted through a point of sell side, which on the checklist is a sweep of sell side and a bearish bias, which it always goes like this: bias, bullish, sweep of liquidity. And for those of you, I'd write this on either paper or screenshot this: bullish sell side, okay, bias, bearish, sweep of liquidity is buy side, right? So that right there is important to have. If the candle at 11.22 low got taken, so when I was monitoring price with this low as well, this is also a low that we was closely monitoring, which did not get taken. When price shifted market structure, I was still interested in an entry, but then when this next candle came out and took this low, then this is not a shift in market structure. So a shift occurs below the previous first short-term low or high, and essentially any 5-minute or actual low, which is more significant in price, like this low, this low, this low, they act as points of liquidity, sell side, etc. This week has been very insightful. We have seen the model almost form many times, and there was always one small thing, and what happens? The trade doesn't play out. Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I have the checklist the way it is. After years of data, of me monitoring price, I've managed to add things and remove things and change things to make sure I've got the highest possible win rate possible. So, as we've seen, last Friday, price shifted lower in market structure, but it was below the New York Open low. So that was a sweep of sell side against the trade, and that obviously went to other people's stops, but that's why we didn't take that. So it's like, if there was an opportunity for us to take a trade and make money, I'm here to aid you guys on that and guide you guys down that process. But if there's a trade that goes against something which is against the model, I'm not here to tell you guys to do that and go against the model and go against the set of rules that we have. How to differentiate market structure shift with sell side and buy side? It's a good question. If you go on the 5 minute, essentially these 5 minute lows like this, they're all minor sell side and minor buy side, right? On the 1 minute, when price shifts below a low like this or this, they don't show up on the 5 minute time frame. So essentially all of the points on the shifting market structure is going to be on the 1 minute, and points of minor buy side and above and higher time frame buy side is going to be showing up on the 5. So when price shifts below a low like this is very consolidated price action. You can see we accumulated and then manipulated, and we was going to see distribution towards minor sell side, but what we actually seen is distribution, and it distributed. So there's a difference. We're distributing, it doesn't let us as a trader get into the trade, and it distributed towards a low. So that's what most people don't see. So that's why when I say it has now swept sell side, it's now distributed towards a low. Essentially, the lows here is not our target. If we took a short and it hadn't already distributed towards a low, then I would then take a short to then target this low. But by the time it meets this low from us taking a trade here, we'd already have our stops trailed to say some sort of short-term high. Minimize risk by 70%. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, Charlie, did that answer your question, mate? Or maybe Charlie's left the stream, I don't know. Oh no, he's there. Yeah, perfect. Good stuff. Yeah, so basically what we've seen as of now, okay, if we remove this, you guys got that down, so if you haven't, take that of a screenshot. Okay, so minor buy side, can bring this over to ES. What's the difference between this live group and the one-to-one mentorship that you used to offer? Isn't this VIP group enough to make someone profitable? Yeah, absolutely. But essentially, people who are newer to trading ICT, they're not going to be too confident and asking. You can only ask so many questions on this live stream without me going insane, right? Because there is quite a lot different types of questions that I would answer, say, and someone previously who was on the mentorship, for example, they would get a full dedicated one-to-one where I would then look at their position and say, this is what you need to start as of now, and go along those lines, and then get them to a point where they're, able to go about by themselves and be independent upon taking a trade. Now, on the one-to-one, there is still people who are moving forward with the one-to-one, as there's still progress to be made, which is not a problem at all. And then those people on the one-to-one that have already been completely paid out, and they're doing very, very well. Depends if Marvin's in the call. Marvin, you here in the call or not? Where's Marvin? Last time I spoke to Marvin, he went to jail. Marvin, are you there, brother? Well, anyway, I taught Marvin one-to-one, and he's doing very well. I don't know why he went to jail the other day. Absolutely don't know. But he's done well so far. He's done very well. His first payout was around just shy of 10k, so 3k payouts with, I believe, take profit. And then after that, he scaled up his accounts, and so far this month he's done around 25k. And then you've got way more other people. I don't offer the one-to-one as of now, so I'm only coaching the people that I have, and they're my main focus. So maybe in the future, but right now, the brothers who I got now, they are my focus. Wait, Marvin's 17, is he? I'm pretty sure is he actually 17? I thought he was like... No, I think he's 18 or something. Yeah, 17, 18. No, he actually is though, yeah, it's crazy. He flew Puerto Rico with his family, and he sent me a video that he made 10k, his first 10k week, which was great to see on Alpha Futures. He enjoyed a nice cigar. Okay, so in the second half of this macro, what we can see, sweep of minor buy side, good to see. Price has now reached back to liquidity, and what we have here is either we create another low around this area with a bullish order block from this candle close, or we see a shift below this low and a bullish order block, and that was what we'd like to see. And then our points of minor sell side would rest as this. So if you go on the 5 minute, acts as a 5 minute low. Delete that, so you can see there. So that's how you know, obviously it's not a shift. So a shift generally occurs on the first low in price, but for ES we don't have an actual low, so if NQ shifts, we don't have a low on ES to shift. So likely ES, if we was to see a shift, ES would engineer some sort of low to break structure through. Ash, what are you saying, brother? Can you hear me, yeah? When are you flying out to Thailand? I seen your message, you reckon December, yeah? believe Ash is streaming right now, so he's not either going to hear or he's occupied. There's no trades anyway. So I like to see price put in some sort of short-term low here, or bullish order block, and then shift through that, and then we can actually get a trade for shorts, which would be good to see. Is the bias still shorts? Yeah, so if you work through the bias, then you'll be able to see that it's still bearish. Let's take a look. So if we look on the 15 minute, we're trading out of a bearish gap, so that's bearish. If we look on the 5 minute, we've met the draw of being bullish, so that needs to change to being neutral. The reason why I don't stay too on top of the 5 and the 15, if the whole higher time frame pretty much sits 3 out of 5, then there's no need to kind of stress the lower time frame, because it's always gonna 3 out of 5 is always gonna lean towards some sort of bias. So 5 minute is already shifted neutral from meeting the draw of the high, and then if we look to the left, these gaps of 187 has been inverse, so the 5 minutes neutral. Okay, so it's just entirely neutral on the 5. Change that. And then on the 1 hour, is still neutral, just like earlier, so nothing's changed. And then the 4 hours bearish, you can see, so we assume that bearish gap gets respected, and the daily is bearish from inversing the bullish gap. So that's our bias as of now. It's not really changed. So it's actually 100% bearish bias. Neutral results don't mean anything. Wait, Samuka, is that you, brother? I don't really understand my Discord names. Yes, my brother. Oh, we need to hop on a call, because I need to... Samuka, right there, he is the king of supplements, so he knows far more than what I know about nutrition. So I need to speak to you about that. Yeah, he's the person to message if you want to know about staying healthy and what to take. So if you want me to label an order block, so if we shift lower as of now, below this short-term low, which you can see here, that's what we'd look for. Delete that. Delete that. So for journaling, the best way in this industry to journal is to have one lead account, and I don't really recommend that you use, say, you know, an Excel sheet. I think that's a waste of time, where you have to, you know, write down on Excel sheets all of your trades. Now, I've done that in the past, but since TradeZella's come along, it's made things a lot easier, and you essentially journal when you take a trade. So if you go into the CVS file on Tradeovate, you're going to have your whole journal inside of Tradeovate. For example, if you're on a live account, then you can plug either your Top Step account, your Tradeovate Live, your, you know, any accounts that you're running with prop firms, you can plug it into TradeZella, and your whole journal is going to be way more you know, inclusive, if that's the right word for it. It's going to show you way more detail than what you would have of an Excel sheet, okay? It's going to show your average risk to reward, your win rate. It's also going to show the amount of trades you've taken, your average dollar win, your average dollar loss. You cannot connect TradeAway account directly with TradeZeller. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you can just log straight into TradeAway on TradeZeller, and then you would have that all there. So that's the best tool as well, because you can go straight from the kind of logs of all the trades you've taken, and then whilst you're looking through those losing trades or winning trades, because you should backtest both, and you can click directly on that trade and it will bring up the backtesting software itself to relook at that same trade you took on TradeZeller. So it's very, you know, that's probably the best software I think that we've got. Do you backtest live on Saturdays? I don't actually backtest live inside of this group. It's not something that I do. But I always recommend for people to backtest on their own and not be guided through it, because it is one of those things that you need to kind of self-criticize yourself without having outwards messages and kind of conversations going on there. It's something that you should always do by yourself, you know, in a space where you're there with you and your trade, and you're kind of analyzing, did I take the right trade, did it follow the model? And if someone else is telling you whether that, you know, because I'm not actually going to look at your trade, maybe you took a different trade, so it's important that you backtest on the Saturday, Sunday when you actually get time to. If I have 450k funded accounts, then when I withdraw 5 times, yeah, it's 5 times per account, so it'll be 20 payouts, and get an invitation for a live account. No, so you're not actually going to lose the drawdown in the account. It would be transferred to your live account or eligible to just withdraw. So today is looking like a no trade day. Now, as much as, you know, many people inside this group, and including myself, I'd like to see a valid trade present itself, it just didn't. And days like this is definitely test many people's patience, but hopefully with watching this stream, it does help some of you guys from taking things that are not obviously valid. So today is one of those non-tradable days, similar to the whole of this week. And we will see tomorrow, as the volatility is going to step up massively with red folder at 8:30 and 9:45 a.m. So start of macro, we do have red folder, which red folder causes two things. It's either going to be manipulation or distribute. And if we've already manipulated above a high, then red folder we can expect to potentially distribute, even though it is a improbable scenario where we don't know the outcome. So it's we don't know the outcome of red folder news unless you've got insider. But essentially, if we've manipulated above a high, then red folder is going to come out and either manipulate or distribute. So we will see what we get tomorrow, and it's going to be a more volatile day. Even though today has been relatively volatile, just no actual clean opportunities for us to take. So that leads us to the end of the macro. I hope you guys have found this stream insightful, and I will speak to you guys tomorrow at 9:20 a.m.